What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bucco Territory, presented to you by the Pal Territory Network. I'm Noah Hiles. Joining me, as always, are my co-hosts Josh Harrison and Platinum Key, a.k.a. Mark. We're coming to you Wednesday, August 19th. Happy birthday to my little sister, Cassidy. She's definitely not watching this, but still wanted to shout her out. We're not going to talk about her a ton. We're actually going to talk about the Pirates because that's what this show's about. We're going to open the show talking about Carmen Majinsky, his struggles as a starting pitcher, and just his season as a whole. We're going to talk about the Pirates' pitching development as a whole. Are they still able to say that this is a pitching factory, that this organization develops arms well? And we will conclude today's episode with talking some Endy Rodriguez, a catcher who, when healthy, is very productive, but we're starting to learn, or continuing to learn, I should say, that health isn't necessarily consistent. So, guys, like I said, we're starting the show with Carmen Majinsky. We're recording this Tuesday afternoon. Monday night was another bad start for Carmen Majinsky. What more can you really say about the guy? I have his career numbers pulled up, his splits. He's logged over 288 innings as a major league pitcher. 108 of those have come as a starter, where he has a 513 earned run average, and opposing hitters have a 130 OPS plus against him. When he's pitching out of the bullpen, 179 and 2/3 innings, his career ERA 2.55, and opposing OPS plus is 80. So he is 50% more effective. His ERA is half of what it is as a starter. And obviously the reason this is a story is because for the last however many years now, Carmen Majinsky has lobbied time and time again to get a job in the starting rotation. I'm actually going to plug a column that, as of the time of this recording, just posted. It will be online. I'm sure it'll have made its rounds by the time this episode's published tomorrow morning, where I kind of talk about Carmen's whole career arc, about how he wanted to develop himself one way as a pitcher when he was a minor leaguer. He wouldn't listen to their pitching coordinators as a prospect, and that kind of altered his career path into becoming a relief pitcher. And while that's frustrating for him, he reached the major leagues before anyone else in the Pirates 2020 draft class. He established himself as a reliable right-handed relief arm for the 2023 and 2024 season. But after that, he started pounding the table and advocating for himself to get opportunities as a starting pitcher, which I have no issue with. I think everyone professionally deserves the opportunity to fight for more, for what they believe they are deserving of. He got that opportunity. He did nothing with it. And that's where this story should have ended. He got that opportunity again, and in both cases, the Pirates had better options.
Yep.
They had guys who were hurt, or they had guys in AAA who were on a development plan. That's in 2025 when they had Burrows and Ashcraft and Chandler, who they were slow cooking, as we like to say here on the show, and weren't going to make the opening day roster regardless. And then when Jones got hurt, he makes the rotation by default. He makes the rotation by default in 2026, again, because Jared Jones is still hurt. And in both instances, whenever the better options were healthy, he gets moved out. Once because he's not good enough, the other time because, well, Jared Jones is just still better, even though he was pitching well. And the way he went about it every single time just wasn't the right way, especially as of late. Obviously, this year, he makes the comments in late May about talking with his agency and his family, figuring out what's next. He goes on the restricted list for a day. And while the bullpen struggles in June and July, as this team is struggling to stay afloat, hovering around 500, staying in that wild card race, they had someone who could have fixed their greatest need, who could have addressed it. But he wasn't used that way. And it felt like they were kind of walking on eggshells around his ego.
Yep.
He finally gets another chance to contribute the way he wants to contribute as a starter. They need him to be a good starter because their starting rotations hit a bit of a rough patch, and he's performed the worst he's ever performed consistently as a starting pitcher since getting moved back into the rotation, which I believe would be August 3rd is when Mitch Keller's injury was announced. Although they didn't officially announce it that day.
Yep.
Like, that's effectively when he was put in there. So Carmen struggles. It's gotten to a point now where, guys, I don't know, is there any case that can be made that this experiment should go on, forget this year, beyond this year, or have the Pirates earned the right to just say, dude, you're a reliever now. This is what you are?
Go ahead, Josh.
Um, you know, I had a quote I think when I got a chance to play in 14. Took a couple years, but I said something like, "You got to be ready for your opportunity because when you
Yep.
get it, you don't want to miss this opportunity or not be prepared for it." And in a situation with this, as you said, he went in and kind of beat the table. To whom much is given, much is expected, and he had an opportunity not once but twice, multiple times, and granted, it may not have been the way that he foresaw it. Like, oh man, this is not. At the end of the day, you have an opportunity, and especially in a situation where the team kind of needs him most right now, as you mentioned, the starting pitching, it's taking a bit of a blow. And I mean, these are opportunities where you would like to look at a guy like Majinsky and say, hey, you came in beating the table. This is your time to show not only us but everybody else. Because at the end of the day, your career is your career, and you got to be the biggest advocate for yourself. There's nothing wrong with having that confidence, as you mentioned, Noah. Getting that opportunity for that's what anybody would want. That they feel is deserving, but when you get that opportunity, you have to seize it, and especially if you get multiple opportunities. Some people get more opportunities than others, so I won't sit here and say should the Pirates stop because I mean who knows? He might get another opportunity. Who goes to say his next start? He doesn't go out and shove. Who goes to say that what his career is going to be? But as you mentioned, as I said, to whom much is given, much is expected, and he's asked for these opportunities. And as you continue to look at the numbers and where his career is trending, it's hard to argue that he has been significantly better out of the bullpen. So at that point, not only for a career thing as far as for himself, like starting a reliever, he's ultimately playing with his potential money earning as well. Because at some point, that's an experiment that people are not going to be willing to take on, especially when you know he's had some ego issues, as you've said. That's a lot to deal with if you haven't quote unquote really produced with what you're asking for.
Yeah, and
Mark,
I'll just
anything to
round
add?
this out
Yeah.
here. I think fans are pretty frustrated with Carmen Majinsky. Like Josh said, you wanted to be a starter. This is what you asked for, and you get this opportunity, and this is what we see. So I think looking forward to 2027, if I'm Carmen Majinsky, I take a long look at those splits that Noah mentioned at the beginning of the segment and say, I'm a really good reliever. Why not just focus on that? Because he's doing this all while still trying to kind of keep in the back of his mind that he wants to be a starter. We haven't seen Carmen Majinsky fully lean in to a bullpen role. And who knows how much better he can be out of the pen if he actually fully commits to it. So I think it's time for that to happen. Obviously, the Pirates need starters right now. So if he finishes out 2026 starting, that's fine. Maybe he can figure things out. But his role as a starter hasn't been great. He hasn't been able to go deep. His role in the bullpen wasn't great because they tried to keep him stretched out, it seemed like. And so it's just like this entire season has just been, I feel like he's just been misused. And I feel like it's really Carmen's fault for that
Yep.
misuse as the Pirates try to cater to his wants and desires. So I put more blame on Carmen for that rather than the Pirates front office or management.
Yeah, just to conclude this, and I think that that needs to be emphasized. This isn't just a 1 year thing or a 2 year thing. This is a
Right.
battle he's been having for a very long time. And the Pirates, to their credit, have been accommodating. They said, hey, we're going to take you through our plan first. They got him to the major leagues before any other
Right.
prospect that was drafted that year in his class. And he did well, but then they still accommodated for him, to him, and he failed. So Josh had a quote. I have a quote that I want to use too. I used it in my column that I just tweeted out. It's by a guy named Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's called Know Your Role and Shut Your Mouth. And sometimes that's all that needs to be said. We're going
Mm-hmm.
to take a quick break. When we come back, more Pirates pitching talk here on Bucco Territory.
For the families out there looking for a new path to help your child succeed, take a look at K 12 powered schools. K-12 offers tuition-free accredited online public education for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. It's all in a setting that works for your family. And K-12 has been around. They've been a leader in online education for over 25 years, serving over 3 million families with flexible education options tailored to each child's needs, interests, and goals for the future. K-12's dedicated teachers are trained in virtual instruction and they provide real-time support. Hey, we've heard Todd Father on here talk about how his kids have gone through homeschooling and it's really helped them for a family that is very much on the move during his playing career. So you can see how K-12 powered schools can help unlock your child's full potential. Enroll online today at k12.com/FOUL. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/FOUL. K12.com/FOUL.
So for the entirety of the Ben Cherington era, the one thing they could hang their hat on was identifying pitching talent and developing pitching talent. They've always seemingly had a top pitching prospect in the sport. They've always had a good eye for guys who have high velo, a good secondary pitch, and they've had development successes with high school pitchers, with college pitchers. This year has not aligned with that reputation at all. When you look at where all of these top prospects are in their development right now, it seems like a lot of them have stalled, aside from Braxton Ashcraft. And I would contend Bubba Chandler's gotten better this year as well. But you look in the farm system, what do you have in the works aside from Seth Hernandez? I mean, you have a couple of guys here and there, but do you have your next Jared Jones ready and waiting? I mean, you have your next Paul Skeens, but you have your next Jared Jones. Right. Where's your next Braxton Ashcraft? Your Bubba Chandler, your Mike Burrows, who you were able to trade for a pretty good return. Where are these guys? Where are these guys that you're getting in trade returns now? So I'll ask you guys, when we see what the pitching has devolved into this year, the starting rotation, and maybe some of these guys just aren't as good as we thought they'd end up being. Mark, I'll start with you. Is it still fair to call the Pirates a pitching factory?
I think so. Even if the results haven't been great, we still have three of the best pitchers in the NL Central with Skeens, Ashcraft. I'd even throw Jones in there. Bubba has looked fantastic. I think the ceiling on Bubba, we haven't even sniffed it, let alone scratched it. So I think things are still going to happen for him. But obviously, the pace of the development seems to have slowed. Yeah, there's all these talent, a lot of this talent. But if you start scrolling down MLB Pipeline's top 30 list, after Seth Hernandez, it takes a while to scroll until you hit Levi Sterling, who just got promoted, and he's the 12th ranked prospect. So you have a bunch of bats finally in the system, which we've been waiting for. It's nice, but. Yeah, it's concerning the fall off, just because we did see so much rocketed development. It was accelerated, it felt like previously, and now it just feels like it's just kind of normal expected development. I don't think anyone's really blown me away.
There's a missing wave.
Yeah.
That was the thing. I mean, you even look back to when Josh was playing, right? There was those waves of prospects, and that came through waves of pitching too, where you had the Garrett Cole wave, and then there was the JMO, and then the Chad Kuhl and Trevor Williams and Tyler Glasnow, and all of these guys coming one after another. This next wave was supposed to be Harrington. It was supposed to be Bucco, and neither of those guys really have panned out to be much of anything. So far, and it would be unfair to say their careers are failures because they're both still in their early 20s. Right. But these are two top 100 prospects at one point in time who you would have thought by now. I mean, they both debuted last year. I mean, hell, Harrington debuted in April of last year, and they're not providing any sort of value. And it's kind of hard to picture them being starting rotation candidates next year. I mean, they can't even beat out Carmen, who we just talked about. His credentials as a starting pitcher. So, I think there is another wave coming. I think there are some younger guys in high A and low A right now, but we're missing that marquee arm in double A and triple A.
Yeah,
of those guys I think might have been flipped into a reliever out of necessity this year. and they probably could use more further development to be a back end starter. But I don't see any front line rotation prospects aside from Seth Hernandez right now,
Right.
Which isn't the end of the world, but that's kind of when that's the thing that you've always sold your organization on is we're going to keep churning out front end starters, and they did for a very long time. When you don't have that, when you miss on that wave with Bucco and Harrington, and just some of these other guys kind of cooling down, it shows.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll chime in here where this question is ultimately going to be answered over the next couple of years because you threw out some names, but we also live in a different era of baseball where developing pitchers and developing hitters were different. Where yes, the Pirates have always had an eye for, as you mentioned, talent, especially with arms. But at now you're seeing a part to where it's like, okay, these guys have the talent, but now this is where the real development comes in. You have to develop that talent into consistent arms going out there, being able to pitch and compete at a high level. Because it's no longer the days of just being able to go out there and say this guy has good stuff. Because all the guys that you mentioned that came up in those years past, they were pretty much helped with building an identity from the minute they came into Pirates from the minor leagues as how to go about attacking a hitter, not just relying on stuff. Granted, a lot of people rely on stuff. And as you say right now, you don't see a lot of names other than Seth Hernandez. This is where you can find those, I don't want to say diamonds in the rough, but this is where this will really answer if this is the pitching factory, because you're going to need some of those names that you've mentioned, like dang, like you've mentioned his name before, Brandon Compton. He was somebody that just hey, the Pirates were able to develop him into a starter where what he might not have had the stuff off the charts like a Glass now or a Cole, but you know what, he knew how to pitch with his stuff. And right now it's also a little awkward timing for the pitching too. You got to change in pitching up top at the major league level, which is going to, cause a little difference, and maybe some communication down to the minor league pitching coordinator and just what they see and how they communicate. So that's really going to have to be an answer that they are going to have somebody step up. Because as you mentioned, if they got the talent, you can't just rely on the talent. It's time to put, being this pitching factory, let's grab this talent. Let's show me we Bucco, we need you to be what we have asked you to be, but we can't do it for you. But we gotta be able to identify what can help you get there. And right now, they're in a little lull period because, as you mentioned, what do you feel like? You don't really feel confident about what's coming up, so they're gonna have to answer something. But I don't. That's a question that still remains to be answered because once you get a little past Majinsky, which right now that's the depth of what they have, somebody's going to have to make a name for themselves. And otherwise, you're going to be taking that question mark off and you're going to be answering like, okay, I'm not sure if they are.
Yep.
Yeah. And just to wrap this up, I think the Pirates were more high. They got high on their own supply a little bit this year. I think that they felt that they had enough internal depth where they didn't need to really address their pitching. They traded away Oviedo, they traded away Burrows, and not that those guys would have helped much this year anyway, but they didn't add to the bullpen because I think they felt that next wave of young arms, the Antoine Kellys, the Wilbert Hotels, could do more. The Brandon Bedouas could probably do more than they actually were capable of this year. And so that's where, like, to me, when I think pitching factory, it is what the Pirates tried to do, saying we don't need to worry about this area. We've got enough depth internally where we have guys that you might not know about, but we know about, and we know they're going to be good. And it turns out some of those guys weren't as good as they thought they'd be this year. And I'm just more interested now moving forward to see how they go about the offseason in 2026, heading into 2027. Is this an area still where they feel like, okay, well, we're going to figure out on how to replace Brandon Lau and what to do at third base? Or are they going to finally start adding to this pitching group, even though they made some additions to the bullpen? Do they feel like, maybe we don't have the internal depth. Maybe this factory isn't as humming as we thought. So we're going to take another break. When we come back, final segment of the show, we're talking Endy Rodriguez here on Bucco Territory.
SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, and anytime you want to go to a game, you should go to SeatGeek. I used to call the director of team travel. I used to call the traveling secretary, whatever they want to be called, KP, to try to get a seat. But on SeatGeek, I can pick my own seat and I can pick where I want to sit instead of being told where to sit.
Yeah, it's a great option. And summer is coming to an end here soon. I'm going out and finding all the day games possible, all the warm weather cities, so I could stay in this tank top. I can watch very competitive baseball. As the calendar turns into fall, I want to make sure that I get the most out of this tank top and warm weather. And SeatGeek is where I would go and get my seats.
You can use code Territory10 for 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off MLB tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later.
Endy Rodriguez back on the IL. That's not necessarily new news, but he is continuing to deal with left hip issues that started in June. Todd Tomczak said Rodriguez is getting second opinions, which should lead to an update later this week. That was reported by the Post-Gazette's Colin Beasley, my coworker, and I'm relaying just the latest information we have on Tuesday afternoon. Regardless of what that information is, it seems like Endy's going to be down for some more time. And this marks yet another season where we're not seeing a lot of Endy Rodriguez. I hate saying, guys are injury prone, because no one in any walk of life, it wakes up and is like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to get injured. That's going to make my day better. Right. Yeah. Like, no, I don't care what you do for a living, unless you work for Jackass. Those guys might actually wake up and say that. But aside from, Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville and Wee Man, most other people don't enjoy getting injured. That being said, that's kind of the reality of sports. I mean, there are so many different people in the world of sports, in the world of baseball, could have a different history if they could have stayed healthy for one reason or another. And sometimes it's out of their control. Sometimes they could have trained better. Sometimes, it's a freak accident, whatever it is. But that's part of the deal here. And when you have a guy now who's had some bad luck with the hand stitches, he's had a couple of elbow injuries, now he has the hip thing, and he plays the most physically demanding position on the field, and he's at really a size where you can't really play him at his second position at first base. It doesn't really make sense, especially with the depth they have at that spot. I'll ask you guys, what does Endy Rodriguez's future look like? Is this just kind of what he's going to be? He's going to be a 1A catcher when he's healthy, and you just got to expect that he's going to be one of those guys that he's going to get banged up throughout the years? Or is he still young enough that you should still hold out hope that he can last throughout the duration of an entire major league season? We'll start with Josh.
Obviously he's shown flashes of when he's healthy that he can be a valuable piece. And coming from a guy who I agree with everything you say. No, nobody wakes up wanting to say they want to get injured. I had 5 or 6 straight seasons of at least 6 weeks on the injured list. So I didn't want to get my hand broken twice, nor have surgery twice. But at the same time, I look around, there are people that have unfortunate injuries. Mine were unfortunate. Some people's are a little bit more severe. Some people are able to make it back just due to, that's the nature of sports. You don't give up until you get that opportunity. And, Endy, I'm sure I can't speak for Endy, but I think he's still young enough to where I know he wants to play and he's going to do everything he can. And he wants to show that he can be a Major League Baseball player for a full season. It's just, one of those things where the game is going to continue to be played. That's for every player that's playing now and that's in the future. And injuries are something that you want to try to prevent. And I know for me, I look back at some of my injuries. Could I have prevented some of them? I don't think I could have prevented getting hit in the hand, by 96 miles an hour. Couldn't really prevent tearing a ligament in my thumb, sliding, just kind of some things that you think about. But, some other injuries that might have led to, some surgeries from other people or even myself is playing through, things that you probably shouldn't have, so when you have injuries, one thing it does make you do is take better inventory of what your body is feeling. And I know when I had injuries, as I said, mine were freak. Broke my hand, tore my ligament, but it did make me realize that, okay, if my left hip is hurting, that don't mean that, okay, maybe it is good for me to take a day and go to the training room and get
Right.
that addressed, as opposed to going out here and playing. I played hard. Andy plays catcher. So it's one of those things where you start to understand that fine line of what is too much. And unfortunately for me, I had to learn it a little sooner, but I also played through things. And same thing for Indy. He's being put through some things that he literally is going to have to, not saying he didn't listen to his body, but that's always going to be the question of how not everybody returns back to form after injuries. There's physical limitations for some people. Sometimes it's mental. And
Yep.
then missing the speed of the game is also real. You miss games that's valuable. And being behind the plate, that's the one position that you get to see everything, and that is valuable time missed. So I know the Pirates, that's getting a second opinion. They want to, obviously take every measure to make sure that whatever is going on or not going on, that they cross it off. Because, as I said, when he's healthy, he's showing that he's productive.
Oh, yeah.
And, you want to do your due diligence just, anyway, just to take care of your player, take care of your person. But, I know they want to get down to the bottom of it, but I do think that they have to kind of, I don't want to say resort to plan B, but you do have to prepare as if, you're going to need to possibly think about having that third catcher that can go up and
Yeah.
down if this is somebody that you really see in your future plans.
Yeah, I think it's you're reaching the point now after however many injuries this is to Endy, where it seems like it might be time to move him off of catcher. And we've seen him play other positions in the minor leagues before. He played some first base. Obviously, we've seen him do that in MLB. He's played a little bit of second base even in the minors. So maybe this offseason, assuming that he can get healthy, maybe it's time where you say, can we move you to another position to work on? Because his bat is so valuable in this lineup. We've seen how much he can contribute, especially as a switch hitter. And so you want to get him in the lineup, but if he can't stay a catcher, you can't put him in the lineup as a catcher if he's not going to stay healthy. So you have to figure out that decision. It sucks because Endy is just so much fun to watch. He's one of my favorite players. Lights up the clubhouse. You can just tell when he's there, like, he brings an impact. Easy guy to root for. So it really sucks that one of the easiest guys to root for is also the most injury prone, it seems. Really frustrating. But hey, that's baseball, and you got to find a way to work through it. And maybe Endy comes back and can actually stay healthy, but I'm not going to get my hopes up.
You know what I'm getting my hopes up for is that people hit the subscribe button if they haven't already. We're on a mission of 3,000 subs. Can't get there without your help. And while you're at it, check out our Bucco Territory team store. Got a lot of good stuff there as well. Look at Mark rocking the
There we
Bucco
go.
Territory shirt.
It's really
Right
nice
there.
material. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Guys, any final thoughts before we wrap up today's show?
My final thought is I've loved the crowds at PNC. There's been some really tough games, a 2.5 hour rain delay, and people were still sitting there, stayed around, and were loud after, chanting like "Let's go Bucks" after 2.5 hours in the rain. Just really impressed by the fan base. They're sticking around, hanging in there, making this fun, forming a P with the tarps off section while you're down 8-1. So I appreciate that as a fan, just keeping your head up, still having fun, even if the results haven't been very fun. What about you, Josh?
Yeah. No, as you said, the energy, keep the fans, is still cool to see them believing. As we had this conversation, I think the other day, it seems like the fans still have hope. Keep that. And just wanted to piggyback. Noah, happy birthday to your sister.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Look at this.
My
What a guy.
final thought is just a peek behind the curtain here. There might have been times this show where I looked like I was rolling my eyes when someone else was talking. They're painting my building right in front of my window right now. So I'm just watching grown men just slide right across the window. And for first, I didn't know what they were doing. So I was also like texting my landlord, like, what is happening right now? Why are there men just right outside my window? So
Just really
I was not rolling
dedicated
my
fans.
eyes
Yeah.
when Josh is talking about his injury history. There throughout his career, I'm not rolling my eyes at his tragedies and triumphs. I was just very distracted by something I did not anticipate having to deal with mid-show. So
That's funny.
yes, that happy birthday, Cassidy. And thank you as always to everyone who keeps tuning in. We'll have more Bucco Territory for you on Friday. He's Platinum Key. He's Josh Harrison. I'm Noah Hiles signing off. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Bucco Territory, presented to you by the Foul Territory Network. Take care.
If you've made it this far, you'll love this next video. Check it out right here and make sure you subscribe to Bucco Territory for more Pirates coverage like this multiple times a week.